Today I decided I had missed having in any of my ginger ciders, so I decided I was making 2 gallons of ginger honey cider. So first step I do is I chop up the ginger and put it into a bucket. Normally I go between 4 and 6 ounces a gallon, and since the bucket holds 2 gallons, there is about 12 ounces of ginger cut up and put into this bucket, and that is where I'm starting from. This is at least how I've even got to the point I don't even really skin the ginger anymore. I found the difference between actually peeling all the ginger or the skin off and just throwing it all into the bucket. I haven't noticed any difference in taste, so I've just started dicing it up into smaller cubes that definitely won't get sucked up through the auto siphon, and so that I can get started from there. And from here I will add in my apple juice and yeast and everything else until I get the bucket full and ready to go. The next step I do is I go dump in one of my jugs of apple juice in with the ginger that I've just done, and then I go warm up 2 cups of apple juice so that I can add my honey into it, so that I've got 2 cups of apple juice and 2 cups of honey, so that they're equal amounts, and that should work for making the cider that I'm wanting to make. For the cider I'm making today, I'm using some old honey that I had sitting around. It had crystallized fairly well in the bottle, so I ended up having to put apple juice into the honey jar and shake it up until I dissolved all the crystallized honey. And now I have it in my measuring cup, so I have about 2 cups of honey. You can see that some of it's still crystallized in the bottom. I've never had a problem with this coming out at the correct sugar level, so I'm going to continue with this amount, because I found that using the crystallized honey this way seems to be a good way to use up my crystallized honey, and it still comes out as a good cider. One of the nice things about the bucket is that you have the big wide opening, so throwing everything in is fairly simple and easy. So I just top off the jug up until I hit the lines on the side with different apple juices until I've got it all filled off, and then I'm ready to put in my different yeast and nutrients. Alright, so after getting my jug all filled, or my bucket all filled with cider, or with the apple juice and ginger and honey, I've now put in my yeast nutrient, and pectin enzyme. I found out that I was out of my normal SO4, so I'm going to be using QA23. I know this is one of the others that I used to use quite a bit, that I like the SO4 better, but since I'm out, I decided I was going ahead with this. I use my normal yeast nutrient. I put in 2 teaspoons, and I put in 1 teaspoon of the pectin enzyme. And knowing that I was going to have quite a bit of ginger in here, I decided the pectin enzyme will help break down some of the pectin in there, and hopefully keep it, or let it clear faster and have it ready to go. But so it's just a double batch of what I would do in a jug. The big difference is that I can only see the bubbler when it's going, and I cannot tell when it has actually cleared without taking the top off. And every time I take the top off, it introduces oxygen into the bucket, so I want to limit that as much as possible. So hopefully after 3 to 4 weeks, if it has stopped bubbling, I'll be able to pull the top off and see where we're at, and see if it looks good, and figure out where I go from there. Alright, so the last thing after getting the lid on, I make sure that my bubbler is not perfectly level. I guess it is. That kind of bothers me. It at least has some pressure when I do this, so we'll see where it's after a couple days. I have my label on the side saying I use the QA23 yeast. It started on 9/20/20, and it is using Stevenson honey, or not, actually that should say Nate's honey and ginger. Says that's what I used in this one, and that way I'll know what I started with. So hopefully in a few days we'll see it bubbling, and we'll know whether it's going from there.